In 1965, Houston unveiled the Astrodome, the eighth wonder, a dome palace built to defy the Texas heat and change sports forever. Luxury boxes, indoor climate control, a 642-foot roof, it seemed impossible. Today, that same Astrodome stands abandoned and almost untouched, still costing millions each year, yet no one dares tear it down. How did the stadium that promised endless fame become a ghost haunting Houston? The answer begins where ambition met engineering, April 1965. Houston's Astrodome opened its doors to a crowd that had never seen anything like it. Judge Roy Hoffines, the driving force behind the project, stood before a sea of reporters and city leaders promising a stadium that would rewrite the rules of sports and civic pride. Local headlines called it the eighth wonder of the world. The Astrodome was more than a ballpark. It was a vision of the future, built to withstand the Texas heat and bring modern comfort to every seat. The project's price tag, nearly $50 million, was funded through a bold municipal bond approved by voters who believed Houston deserved a place on the national stage. Hoffines' charisma and relentless campaigning convinced the city that this was not just a stadium, but proof that Houston could do what no other city dared. The amenities list read like a fantasy. Air conditioning for 66,000 fans, 53 luxury boxes with private service, themed restaurants, gleaming escalators, a barber shop, even a weather station tucked inside. And overhead, a 642-foot domed roof, spanning more than 2 city blocks, hovered above it all, promising shelter from the relentless sun. Opening ceremonies drew celebrities, politicians, and the national press. For the first time, black and white Houstonians sat side by side in a large county venue, a quiet but powerful sign of change in the city. The Astrodome's debut was not just about baseball or football. It was a declaration. Houston had arrived, and it would do so on its own terms. The city's bold gamble set the stage for a new era, but behind the scenes, engineers faced challenges no one had ever solved. Engineers faced a challenge that had never been attempted on this scale, unprecedented: how to span 642 feet wall to wall without a single column to block the view. The solution was a steel lamella truss system, an intricate web of girders arching overhead designed to distribute the weight of the dome evenly across its massive footprint. The roof's clear span covered more than 150,000 square feet, dwarfing any previous stadium and demanding calculations that pushed the limits of 1960s engineering. At the heart of the design were nearly 5,000 lucite skylights intended to flood the field with sunlight and allow real grass to grow indoors. These panels, slotted between the steel ribs, gave the dome its signature glow and reinforced the futuristic vision behind the project. Drawings from the period show how the roof panels angled to catch the sun, while a complex tie back system anchored the entire structure against Houston's shifting soil and unpredictable storms. Yet even as construction advanced, caution crept into the correspondence between architects and county officials. In a 1963 memo, a senior engineer wrote that they were in uncharted territory with these loads. The team debated wind resistance, rainwater pooling, and the long-term effects of heat on the acrylic skylights. Contingency plans circulated for reinforcing the trusses if the calculations proved wrong. The structure itself, they became a kind of experiment, part monument, part question mark, standing as both a marvel of ambition and a source of quiet anxiety among those who built it. Grass was supposed to thrive under the Astrodome's lucite skylights, but within weeks of opening day, the field turned patchy and brown. Sunlight scattered by the slanted panels failed to reach the roots, and the glare blinded outfielders chasing fly balls. By June 1965, the grounds crew was scrambling, spraying Miracle-Gro, hauling mirrored rigs across the field, and finally painting the dead grass green before televised games. Newspapers described their efforts as part science, part desperation. Former Astros outfielder Jimmy Wynn later joked that they were playing on paint by June. The problem only grew worse after stadium managers, faced with player complaints about glare, ordered the skylights painted over. This emergency measure kept the ball visible, but with almost no natural light left, the last blades of Bermuda grass withered and died. Groundskeepers experimented with chemical hardeners and even tried rolling out sod between games, but nothing lasted. The field became a patchwork of mud, paint, and hope. In early 1966, Harris County signed a contract with Monsanto for a synthetic solution. Installation of the new material, soon branded as AstroTurf, began that spring. The first games on the artificial surface drew national attention as players slipped, skinned knees, and raised questions about injuries. County Commission minutes recorded heated debates over cost and safety, but the need for a playable field won out. The Astrodome became the first professional stadium to use artificial turf, launching a debate about authenticity and athlete safety that would echo for decades. Baseball was only the beginning. Within months of opening, the Astrodome's schedule read like a who's who of American entertainment and sport. The Houston Oilers made the Dome their home on Sundays. Their games drew tens of thousands to seats that had never seen a drop of rain. In March 1968, the NCAA Game of the Century brought college basketball's biggest stars to Houston, packing the stands and shattering previous attendance records. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo moved in, transforming the field into a showcase of bucking broncos and championship cowboys, with rodeo title winners crowned under the same roof that just weeks earlier echoed with baseball cheers. The Astrodome's versatility became its calling card. It hosted hockey matches, soccer exhibitions, and even tennis showdowns, each event drawing crowds eager to experience the spectacle. In November 1966, the stadium reached global headlines as Muhammad Ali faced Cleveland Williams in a heavyweight title fight. Over 35,000 fans witnessed Ali's victory, the largest indoor boxing crowd to that point. Press clippings from the era called the Astrodome the world's most versatile stadium, a nickname that stuck as promoters raced to book the next big act. Concerts, religious rallies, political conventions, and NASA ceremonies all found a home inside the dome. Event promoters marveled at the possibilities. A single venue where Elvis Presley, Billy Graham, and astronauts could all take the stage. For Houston, the Astrodome was not just a sports arena, it was a cultural engine, a place where the city's ambition played out in real time and on a national stage. Houston's Astrodome quickly became more than an engineering marvel. It was a stage for the city's bold ambitions. National headlines marveled at its scale and comfort, but inside Houston, the dome became a symbol of a city eager to join the ranks of America's great urban centers. Civic leaders and boosters saw the stadium as proof that Houston could compete with New York and Los Angeles, not just in business, but in culture and innovation. The Astrodome's opening weeks drew an astonishing parade of celebrities, politicians, and sports legends. Astronauts from the nearby Johnson Space Center attended a 1965 ceremony beneath the soaring roof, tying Houston's identity to the era's spirit of exploration. Bob Hope cracked jokes about the dome's endless amenities. The national press even marveled that the restrooms were air-conditioned. Star power. Yet the dome's impact ran deeper than spectacle. For the first time at this scale, black and white Houstonians sat together in the stands, a quiet but unmistakable sign of change in a city still wrestling with civil rights. Local newspapers captured the moment. The Houston Chronicle headlined, "A new era begins under one roof." Cultural shift. With every sold-out event, The Astrodome fueled a sense of pride. It was not just a stadium, it was Houston's declaration that anything was possible and that the future belonged here. By the mid-1980s, the Astrodome's promise of effortless comfort was unraveling behind the scenes. Maintenance crews logged hour after hour, patching roof leaks that seemed to multiply with every storm. In 1986, rainwater seeped through the dome during a high-stakes Astros playoff game, flooding dugouts and forcing workers to scramble with squeegees, while the nation watched on live television. Inspection reports from that era detail chronic water intrusion, corroded tiebacks, and standing puddles in utility corridors. The original lucite skylights, once a symbol of innovation, became a source of constant trouble, cracking, leaking, and demanding expensive replacements that strained county budgets. Mechanical failures crept into public view as well. By the early 1990s, fans attending big events could expect at least one or two escalators out of service. Facility managers struggled to find replacement parts for aging systems, sometimes resorting to creative repairs just to keep the doors open. Staff recall herding crowds up blocked stairways while technicians worked overtime. These breakdowns, coupled with failing air conditioning and outdated plumbing, turned everyday operations into a costly battle. County records that show maintenance spending spiked throughout the decade, with annual costs for basic repairs and emergency fixes climbing into the millions. Futuristic amenities that once inspired pride now read like a cautionary tale. Engineers and inspectors warned that the building's original systems were reaching the end of their useful life. But each fix only bought a little more time. At the Astrodome, once Houston's pride, was now fighting a losing battle against age and expense. And the warning signs were impossible to miss. After decades as the heart of Houston in sports, the Astrodome lost its last major tenant at the turn of the millennium. In 2000, the Houston Astros played their final game beneath the dome's steel arches before moving downtown to a new ballpark, Enron Field, later renamed Minute Maid Park. The decision was not sudden. Years of mounting maintenance bills, outdated amenities, and growing competition from modern stadiums left team executives weighing their options. Internal memos from the Astros front office show frustration with the dome's aging infrastructure and the financial strain of keeping up with league standards. Negotiations with the Harris County grew tense. The team sought better revenue opportunities and a more fan-friendly experience. The new stadium promised open air, natural grass, and the latest comforts, features the Astrodome could no longer offer without massive investment. When the Astros signed the lease for their new home, the dome's regular calendar emptied almost overnight. For the first time since 1965, its cavernous halls stood quiet through baseball season. The move did not just end an era of home games, it erased the steady stream of ticket sales, concessions, and energy that had anchored the building's purpose. Without its signature tenant, the Astrodome's future became uncertain, a landmark suddenly without a role, and a city wondering what, if anything, could fill the void left behind. The Astrodome stands silent now, its vast shell looming over Houston like a memory that refuses to fade. Inside, the air hangs heavy with dust and the echo of footsteps that haven't passed through in years. Urban explorers who slip past security describe a world frozen in time. Rows of empty seats gather grime beneath the dim light, while the scoreboard, once the most advanced in the world, blinks out, its bulbs long since burned away. In the suites, unopened pantries still hold soda cans and programs from the 1980s, untouched since the last crowds filed out. Deep in the tunnels, faded signs point the way to locker rooms and control booths sealed off for decades. Some explorers have found forgotten equipment closets, their shelves lined with obsolete machinery and relics from a busier era. The concourses, once alive with vendors and fans, now stretch out in eerie silence, broken only by the drip of a leaky pipe or the scrawl of the graffiti left by the curious. Even the air feels different, a mix of old popcorn and machine oil, a scent both familiar and unsettling. The Astrodome's emptiness is not just physical, but emotional, a lingering presence that haunts those who remember what it once was and those who wander its shadows today. Architectural historians trace a direct line from the Astrodome to nearly every major stadium built in the decades that followed. Its design workflow set a new precedent. For the first time, engineers used early computer-aided analysis to model the stresses and spans of a roof this size, a process that became standard in large-scale construction. The dome's column-free interior and its lamella truss system inspired successors like the Louisiana Superdome and the Tokyo Dome, both of which cite Houston's project documents in their planning archives. Building codes and engineering textbooks began referencing the Astrodome as a case study in structural daring and risk management. The lessons learned about load distribution, material fatigue, and the challenges of maintaining a sealed environment shaped the evolution of stadium architecture worldwide. Design experts point to the Astrodome's mix of ambition and trial and error as a turning point, one that opened the door for retractable roofs, hybrid turf systems, and the multi-purpose complexes that define today's sports landscape. Even as the original structure gathers dust, its technical DNA lives on in arenas from Atlanta to Abu Dhabi, each echoing the innovations and the cautionary tales first tested under Houston's vast steel shell. No demolition crews have arrived at the Astrodome, despite decades of debate. The reason lies in a tangled web of legal protections, fiscal roadblocks, and public indecision. In 2013, Harris County placed a $217 million bond proposal on the ballot to transform the dome into a multi-use event center. Voters rejected that proposal, leaving the building in limbo. Just months later, preservation groups succeeded in placing the Astrodome on the National Register of Historic Places. By 2017, it gained State Antiquities Landmark status. These designations mean any attempt to tear down the dome now requires a lengthy permitting process and opens the door to lawsuits and state-level intervention. County officials and demolition analysts have run the numbers. Demolishing the Astrodome would cost at least $80 million, with some estimates soaring above $100 million once asbestos removal and site remediation are included. $80 million is a baseline that changes the conversation. Meanwhile, the annual cost to simply keep the building mothballed, secured, insured, and minimally maintained hovers between $170,000 and $400,000. For some officials, these numbers justify a wait-and-see approach. Mothballed becomes a conscious strategy. Preservationists argue that the dome's unique status and potential access to historic tax credits make demolition fiscally short-sighted. Temporary uses such as emergency shelter or film shoots keep the building technically functional, but no permanent plan has moved forward. Historic tax credits shape the debate. The Astrodome remains not because of nostalgia alone, but because the cost, the law, and public opinion have locked it in place. It is a structure too expensive to destroy and too significant to ignore. Today, the Astrodome costs Harris County up to $400,000 a year just to sit empty, its fate suspended between nostalgia and neglect. As cities nationwide debate what to preserve and what to let go, the dome's shadow stretches over every conversation about progress, memory, and public investment. In the end, what we choose to keep standing says as much about our future as our past.